Do you read me over?
Be advised, you are coming in weak and unreadable.
Say again, Com Tower. This is Pacho. Do you read me over?
Pacho, this is Com Tower. I read you Lima Charlie.
Com Tower, Com Tower. Request permission to launch and commence the field op. Over.
Stand by. Pacho, permission granted. I say again, permission granted.
Roger that. Launching podcast in 3, 2. You are now entering the field op with your host, Pacho Correa, Chief Warrant Officer 3, United States Marine Corps retired. Get some. Hurrah! Get some, hurrah! What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another week. I'm sure everybody's pretty freaking fat and nasty from stuffing their faces during Thanksgiving, watching the football games, drinking a couple of brewskis, all that good stuff. But hey, look, Baby Friday is upon us. Friday night's Eve. Goddamn, it's almost the weekend. So we have an amazing show for you and with an amazing guest. So stand by. But before we get started on all and get on all that good stuff, hey, look, this show right here, we're all about helping each other out and getting the information out. And if you need help and assistance putting your VA claims together, the VA is an amazing organization. It's not perfect, doesn't really matter. It's the one that we got. But if you're a veteran and it's been a couple of years since you've been out and you're not taking advantage of the VA system, or you need help putting a claim, or you just don't have your VA's claims and benefits, or getting compensated for your time in the service, reach out to us at the show. Because under the PAC Act, as a matter of fact, is it's implemented now, and there's under the presumptive conditions that you don't really have to be you don't have to provide any proof or anything of the sort. So it's to your benefit and advantage. So don't short yourself out of those benefits as well. Okay. And if you need help and assistance, as far as you've been out of the service, you need some financial, getting things implemented, we can help you with some very specific tips and strategies to get you where you want to be financially, and not only to be able to protect your family, but also achieve your financial goals and be able to really retire and not really have to depend on SSI and all the other things like I see some fellow veterans doing. So if that's something that might tickle your fancy, you want to find out more, don't forget to DM me at the show, and we can set up a free 1-hour strategy session. So, hey, this show is also too, we're all about sharing, being a platform, being with veterans and breaking bread and all the good stuff. So if you want to be a guest on the show, you have a business that you want to talk about, you have something that you want to get off your chest, hey, I'm your platform. This is the place to do it. So let's go and do it. Hit me up at the show, because look, at the end of the day, you raised your right hand and you defended the Constitution in this great nation of ours. So we're all about supporting the right to bear arms, freedom of speech, and all that good stuff. So if that's something that tickles your fancy, as I said before, like, subscribe, and follow. I mean, we have over 7,700 people on Facebook. So do a brother a favor and go on TikTok, go on my TikTok, YouTube, and all my other channels, and hit me up on there as well. I mean, let's create a communication. All right. So because, hey, I mean, that's what we do. So, and if you want to be a podcaster, you want to get some great coaching, among other things, Brian Coburn is the person who helps you. He's the one who's got me to where I need to be today. So, look, with that being said, let me give you a little bit about my man, the guest that I'm getting ready to talk about. I mean, might as well just grab your MREs, tighten up your bootstraps. I mean, we have a legend on the mic. I mean, Master Gunnery Sergeant Luis Adrianzen. I mean, this dude, he's seen it all. I mean, he's seen the sands of the desert to all the way to the minefields in Cuba. In addition to, I mean, he's also a parent. So, I mean, he's to the chaos of raising kids. So, I mean, with that being said, I mean, let's bring Master Gunnery Sergeant Luis Adrianzen to the show. What's going on, Master Guns?
Hey, Pacho, what's going on, brother? Good to see you.
Hey, man, it's a true pleasure to have you here on our show. I mean, one of the first, I mean, let's get the elephant out of the way. I mean, one of the things that caught my eye when, by the way, your TikTok just like blew up. But I mean, I mean, dude, you're like freaking stacked. I mean, you're stacked on one side and you stacked on the other. I mean, you are the literal word, every sense of the word. You got a salad bar going on both sides of the house, bro. Man, that's pretty crazy. How is that, man?
Uh, I was fortunate. I think during my time in the Marine Corps, that when I came in, all this stuff was going on. All the way from obviously working in the minefields in Cuba, but hitting Somalia, hitting Desert Storm, the Gulf War, Mogadishu, Iraq, Afghanistan, and Jordan, and a couple other things along the way. So now I can say I was fortunate to have attended those things, but during the time, it wasn't such. But all in all, it was a good experience, and I'm just very proud of all my accomplishments about what I can say.
Oh no, I mean, look, I think it's all about every time I had when I came in, I just missed Desert Shield, Desert Storm. I mean, but that thing was over like in the blink of an eye, pretty much. So I was part of that. Although there were some other events that I got to be a part of. And you're right, dude. I mean, looking back right now, like last week when when I did the other show, I mean, we were talking about MREs and the barracks and the this and that, man. And you look back, right now when you talk about it, it's like, whoa, man, those were the best times ever. But bullshit, when you're there, it's like, nope. Man, this suck. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when you're in it, and you're living that life, and it's funny, the stuff we laugh about now, but no matter where you're at, you're in the desert, you got flies all over you, and you're trying to eat, or you're trying to eat a marine is full of sand, and at the time, you're like, what the hell? And now you look back and you're like, wow, it's just stuff you laugh about and you did, and yeah, so it's like just reliving stuff that you're amazed, and you look at it like somebody from the outside looking in, they would never understand, like, how could you, why would you, so yeah.
Right. Yeah, no, 100%, man. I mean, just so our audience can get a glimpse. I mean, I remember when I went through boot camp, we were taught how to clean, not to your expertise. But I remember, we had the bayonet, and in Paris Island where I went through, we had to low crawl, and then you were poking the sand, and if the knife moved back, then you had to like do all this other stuff. But I mean, really, dude, Master Guns, paint that picture for us. How was that working in one of the biggest minefields, in the military when you were working in Guantanamo Bay, man?
Well, it was the experience itself was just a tremendous. When you're in it, there's some training that takes place prior to actually being when you're assigned to minefield maintenance section. So you go through some training in North Carolina at the engineer school, and they're teaching you actually. You've got to pinpoint a mine. They take a nail, and with the mine detector, you got to pinpoint this thing on the T where this thing is at, because you're out there in the middle of a minefield with thousands of mines, and then you got to find your way. And I tell you, you talk about stress, concentration, and once you pass working in a practice minefield, and now they fly you to Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, and you're in it. I mean, you're like, holy crap, because you're gonna be working in live minefield, and there's a little bit of training that takes place prior to actually going into live minefield, but that day where you actually go in and you certify for the first time, it's game on. It's everything that you've learned. Everything's just it's that you're in the moment, and stress, not so much at that, because you've got that comfort that you've done everything you need to do to go in there and do what you got to do. But other than that, I mean, it's just an experience that I will never forget. And I haven't experienced a friend of mine got blown up in the minefield, unfortunately, while we were there. That was just not, something that I will carry with me. But for the most part, one of the best experiences that I've had part of my career.
No, I mean, I remember, again, you get a briefing. Again, boot camp is just like a little drop in the water. They talk about things like bouncing betties, the one with the mines with the 3-prong and that, pitting and that, all the things that we think, that are made so romantic in a movie, even a combat movie, because they paint a really romantic picture. I'm sure that from your standpoint, it's your perception is completely different, because I mean you've seen it in reality, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, and it's and you're true, and it's right, because a lot of things get either overemphasized or just over dramatized. So now I watch a movie with a different lens. That's like,
yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, maybe, but yeah, definitely haven't seen, and you got the 3 prongs, and when we're trying to find a landmine, anti-personnel mine, and you're in there with a little little knife. And know what they can do in the minefields. Prior to us actually entering into the minefields, we drive around with an ambulance to scare any deer. There's deer in Cuba, believe it or not, and a lot of deer sometimes, or they'll go into the minefields, and sometimes we would get a call if you're on duty at 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock in the morning, explosion in the field. We drive out there, and a deer just happened to have been out there and got blown out of hell. So we got to see what they can do, and again, unfortunately, I got to see what they can do in real life to a person. Wow. So totally different way of seeing things in life, definitely.
Well, I'm pretty sure that you knew the in every literal sense of the words, walking on eggshells. You must be a pro at that shit.
Yeah, well,
no pun intended, right?
But oh yeah.
Let me ask you this. So, in your career too, you got a very well-rounded career. How was it? So, did you go from there? Was that at the beginning, or did you go to a drill field after sometime after you were in Guantanamo Bay?
Yeah. So when I picked up sergeant, that was my first real duty station. My first billet that I took, and then from there, after I left Cuba. I came to Camp Pendleton, and Saddam Hussein had just invaded Kuwait just as I left.
Yeah, I remember that.
So they're like, "Hey, Sergeant, don't unpack your bags." I went to 29 Palms, got to do a little bit of training, and we were on freaking birds to Saudi Arabia within a couple of months.
Right.
And then so when I got to Saudi Arabia, I was fresh out of the minefield, duty expert. So I was the guy that they were looking at to give CAT classes, to teach. So after that, that was 91, 93, I went to the drill field. But prior to that, in 92, Somalia kicked off. So I was in Mogadishu. Got an experience of working with the French Foreign Legion there. The Legionnaires were blowing themselves up. And so they're like, So they're like, "Hey, Sergeant, we're going to attach you to the Legionnaires. Kind of let's see what they're doing. So we're going to do some road reconnaissance out there." So we rode around with the Legionnaires. And that was interesting, to say the least. Many stories of that. Yeah, so well-rounded, definitely got to see a lot of things that I would never in my life would have thought I'd be involved in. So yes.
Wow. Did you kind of switching gears a little bit before we get back about talk about the drill field? But did you ever have one of their MREs or anything of the sort?
Quick story on the Legionnaires. The youngest Legionnaires. Are servants to the officers, to the French officers, from what I've seen. So we get to the field, we're out there, park the vehicles, they set up freaking a string of lights, and the officers eat on actual real plates, and their MREs are like out of tins, and so they heat them up, and as guests, we're sitting there, and we're like, myself and the captain that were attached to them, we're like, what the hell? We're in the field eating with forks and knives, and these guys are serving us. And I was like, yeah, but that's what it is. The younger Legionnaires, they serve the French officers, and the MREs are actually phenomenal. They were really good.
That's awesome. I remember that when I was in Africa, in Operation in Joint Task Force, I think was it Restore Hope?
Operation Restore Hope.
Yeah, I was there under General Zini. We were there. Anyways, we got to exchange some MREs. It was, it was pretty much everybody from all over, and that was pretty freaking cool. We're actually staying in hotels, and not basically suffering out on the field. But let me ask you this: so now you're a drill instructor. You're training recruits and things like that. I mean, and I know times were changed and everything, because back then hazing was amazing. But so tell us the secrets behind the heavy, the the senior drill instructor. I mean, is that something that you guys pass the hat around, like, hey, I'm going to be the friggin' heavy this time, I'm going to be the dad or whatever? How does that even?
Yeah, well, typically what happened is you fresh graduated fresh out of drill instructor school. You're the junior hat. You're the guy following on. You're basically another recruit, just watching what's going on. And the heavy or the next, the J, will tell you all you do is kill bodies. All you do is make corrections. And the recruits hate that, because your job is this position of attention. What are you looking at? Don't move up. Just constant corrections. And so you get tired. You learn to hate recruits because you're doing nothing but making corrections. So you go home like, I hate this bastards. And then you get some seniority, and now you're teaching drill. You're teaching recruits. Still not allowed to talk to them because it's all making movements and corrections. And then the next higher up will be the senior drill instructor, the daddy. And so you need an outlet. So the black belt, the senior drill instructor, is the one that talks to them like, hey, everything good, everything good at home. So that's their little outlet. But for the most part, I mean, there's no letting up. You're 13 weeks of freaking going nonstop. You're hating life, and the recruits hating you, because you're like, here I go again. I got to deal with these knuckleheads another damn third full day. So, yeah. So, but I've learned that as I've gone through my career, those little experiences, that I love mentoring. And again, at the time, you're hating life. You freaking don't get no sleep, and you can't talk. Your voice is gone. But after the fact, on graduation day, when that young recruit comes up crying, or you dismiss them, they're all freaking tears. You're like, okay, I did some good. So so you're proud of that, definitely.
Yeah, I remember when I was going through, we had a new hat, and his name was Sergeant Rogers, and we thought this guy was just a complete blooming onion. I mean, the guy was a dumbass. And then at one point, because I ended up working for the Strong J, his name was Sergeant Serrano, Carlos Serrano, which, I mean, I still, every once in a while, I'll shoot him a message, Merry Christmas, whatever. He retired I think as a Gunnery first sergeant. Anyway, so, but Serrano was there, and then we were doing, I think back then, I don't know if you're East Coast or West Coast, but we used to do BWT, Basic Warrior Training at, so in South Carolina. So we're drilling in the middle of A line because Paris Island has got like these airfields and crazy shit in the back. Anyway, so we're marching, step it out now, whatever. And this dude, we saw him pick up a lizard, and he eats it. We're like, whoa, this dude, it's like, because he did some training or was stationed in the Philippines. Anyways, the other day he got sick or whatever. We didn't know what happened, but so the Strong J is like, hey, y'all remember Sergeant Rogers? You're like, yes, sir. He goes, remember he had a lizard, right? Yes, sir. He goes, that's pretty freaking bad, right? Yes, sir. Well, yeah. Well, his dumb ass got sick. How's that? I mean, he threw him under the bus, with us. But I mean, it was good times. I actually ended up, the Strong J ended up being my first shot chief at my first duty station. That was, I mean, I got stories for days on all that stuff, but so, do you recall a time, like maybe, I don't know how, what age you got married, but, let's, what was some of the quirkiest, stories that you remember? Let's talk, what's your favorite MRE? Let's just start there. Or do you remember any good stories about eating MREs and stuff?
Yeah. Well, MREs are shitty to begin with. I mean, back then we had, they were bricks. You add water to the damn dehydrated beef patty. I was in Korea one time, and I ate a damn dehydrated beef patty out there with the Koreans, and then all of a sudden these guys want to play volleyball. So we're out there playing volleyball, and they bring out some sodas, and I chug down a Coke, and I had just eaten this dehydrated freaking brick, and I'm out there jumping. Next thing you know, I'm like, what the hell? whoa, just like a freaking fountain. That damn carbon of the Coke and that dehydrated beef fat, it just worked itself up in there. But yeah, it wasn't good. My favorite was the ham slice and jalapeno cheese with the crackers, and that's about all I would eat. I would just trade any and everything, sweets, whatever, for my ham patty and jalapeno cheese and a cracker. And I survived off of that because I couldn't eat the other shit. It just wasn't.
Man, you like the ham slice? I remember, again, the newer ones after 1998, they got, but remember the purple ones? The ones before that was like they had the lot number. You're like, oh, I think this is the one that brings this trash.
Yeah.
But I remember the shelf life bread, the bread that would come in the paper bag.
Nasty ass.
I mean, you might as well eat just a brick full of chalk, because I mean that's what that whole thing was, dude. I mean that was pretty freaking crazy, man. And as I look back, I mean, in my life, I mean, it was just. But those are the things that, stories like this that we're kind of going back and forth. I mean, those are the things that makes those times memorable now. Maybe not so much back then, but it kind of like, oh yeah, I remember that stuff. So what did you think? So did you get to do the new CFT when you before you got out?
I did. Actually, I got to experience a few things that were transitioning as I was leaving, and I was fortunate that I hated running. I hated running with a passion, man. I was natural at it, and I thank God that I did. Because a lot of times, the only time I put on PT gear was when they said it fell out, or when they would say fall out. But I'm 5'2", and that was my biggest thing throughout the Marine Corps. They would put the biggest dude. They're supposed to pair you up.
You're in the little end.
Yeah, I'm a little end. It's they're supposed to pair you up with somebody that's approximately your size, but they're like, "Hey, Sergeant, try this guy." Hey, or as you get older, and so it was always a challenge that they wanted to see what I could do, and so I lived through that, and it was fun. Again, going back to those moments, I'm like, "What the hell are they doing, man? What are they trying to prove here?" But but now they're just stories that I laugh about and comical at times.
And it's true. But we tend to have, and I say those of us who, hell, I'll even say the ones that even if we don't have any combat experience, but I mean, I think we use speaking of comedy, we kind of tend to use that as a coping mechanism, and we do have a dark sense of humor, because we use that as a coping mechanism. Whereas I'm sure if we use some of that stuff now, like, oh shit, civilians would look at us like, hey, whoa, what the hell are you? Why would you even say that? But in our environment, I mean, we use that to kind of get us through some tough times. I mean, when you were deployed to, in the name of, God, country, and Corps, and in some of the places that you got to go through, like Somalia and Afghanistan, I mean, what are some of the things that you used to not only help you get through those times, but also your team?
Part of that was what kept me busy is the Marines, trying to keep them trained, keep them occupied. You're not, a lot of people see the again, going back to the movies, combat action. They see all the shooting going on. Those are 45, 1 minute. Obviously, there's longer battles along the way, but that's not a constant thing that happens all day. So keeping a Marine focused, because he's getting letters from home. He's getting Dear Johns, but the kids are sick or whatever. So you have no time really to sit there and spend on yourself, because you're constantly just trying to take care of issues, take care of pay problems. Even if you're in the middle of the desert, you're still dealing with admin problems and issues. And again, keeping the Marines trained, focused, making sure that they're ready to do their job. So I think I use that. For me, is something that kept me going, to make sure that those devil dogs were ready to go at all times, so their heads were straight. Yeah.
No, and you have, I mean, it's literally every sense of the word, complacency kills, because we're not, one thing is that when I transitioned to an officer and then we got deployed, I think the hardest thing was trying to keep those Marines engaged so that they wouldn't do dumb shit. Case in point, in my first deployment after I became a warrant officer, unfortunately, I had some Marines. One of them ended up getting killed. They overturned an up armor Humvee. They were trying to make a drift, in Tokyo drift, as they, once we did the investigation. It's an exhausting. People think that just because oh man, I can't wait to be, this rank, or I can't wait to be, a gunny or whatever. They don't think of, the amount of responsibility that comes with that job. And those of us who kind of we wear our job on top of us, and our family takes the back end. I mean, dude, it's an example. I mean, I used to sleep with my phone right next to me in the middle of the night, just to, in case somebody calls, somebody dies, whatever. I mean, how was that? How were you able to find balance? I know you've been married for many years, and you have an amazing family. How did you try to find balance and support from your loved one in times that were so challenging? Basically raising kids and trying to balance a career.
Well, that was a balancing act in itself. I was fortunate enough that actually my marriage did not survive all these deployments. Later on, now I'm married, very happily married to a beautiful young lady that I met after I retired, and she's taught me a lot of things and brought on a lot of things that I've now learned in coping. Yeah,
I got you.
And it's tough. And a lot of Marines would say, "Man, look at those medals. Look at what you got on your chest." And I'm like, "Are you still married?" I said, "You got kids?" Yeah, absolutely. I'm like, that's the choices that we've made. I was dedicated to my job. I thought I was doing at the time. I thought I was doing the best thing for my son to make sure that he was provided for. So I was deploying, so I could move up and take care of business. But unfortunately, the marriage just failed a lot of times because of that. So it was tough. It was tough because I was a single dad, and my marriage has suffered. But like I said, after the fact now, and unfortunately for them or her, that now my new wife is reaping the benefits of my accomplishments and what we're doing now. So
I got you.
So but it's all good, and it is a balancing act, definitely trying to. My son's going through school, and you're trying to educate, and trying to be a father from a computer. And it's tough. It's
man.
I'm looking on the screen, and my son's got a hoodie on, and I'm in Afghanistan, and I'm like, "Hey boys, it's cold in the house. What's going on?" He's like, "No, Dad, I'm good." I'm like, "Hey, take that hoodie off." And he's got freaking earrings on his damn ears. And I'm like, "Boy, that shit better come off right now. As soon as I get home, I'm gonna put a dress on your ass." And parenting through freaking through media. It's just tough.
No, I remember. Yeah. Man, it must have been like we walked in the same boots, and I remember from Fuji when I got stationed there. This is right before the earthquake tsunami, so I'm trying to chew ass, and even in my Iraq deployment, trying to chew ass through Skype. Your kids, he's sitting there saying, "Sí, señor," because I spoke Spanish with my kids, and he's be like, "Sí, señor." Sí, señor. And I'm here
rolling his eyes.
Whatever, yes, sir. Yeah. I know he's like F-U-ing me like it's goddamn cool. You know what I'm saying? And then you're like, man, but you can't really. I know they got beef with you to some degree. You because you're not there, but
But you know what? I think
right?
Yeah, I think in retrospect, though, now they fortunately, I think they now see. What we did for them, and hopefully we at least try to do for them.
Yeah. Master Guns, let me ask you. So I guess looking at your entire, that amazing career that because let's face it. I mean, dude, you've had an amazing career. You got not only the stories, but you put yourself, mind, body, soul, and spirit. And let's just say that, the awards speak for themselves. But that all came at a cost. Looking back on your career, what would you say to, let's say, young PFC Korea right here? What would you say, or what would you say actually to PFC Adrianzen as they're getting some words of wisdom?
Words of wisdom for PFC Adrianzen is I was fortunate. I've had some great leaders, but what I would say to them would be, don't be a follower. Take initiative. Learn your job, and be a leader, and don't expect, and don't sit there and expect kudos. They will come if you do your job.
Right.
You do what you're told. Be squared away. All those things that I look back on now, that the military is easy, man. We don't ask a lot of people. Do your job, keep your mouth shut, and do what you're told. And people, and some people don't get it. They want to argue, they want to ask, and I'm like, just keep your mouth shut, do what you're told, and follow rules. There's gonna come a point when you're the guy that's giving the orders, and so but definitely that's what I would tell myself is those things. It's just, don't be a follower, man. Be a leader, take initiative, and do what you're told, and life will be good. Yeah, definitely.
Thanks, Mexico. Those are some amazing words. Let me ask you this as we're getting ready to wrap up: is where could people, if people want to find out more, get some mentoring, all that good stuff, some leadership, where could they find you?
Well, I dabble on Facebook and TikTok and stuff, but now the wife all of a sudden got me on this thing. She was found a way to give me some kudos, and so. But yeah, I'm on TikTok now. I am on Facebook. I am on LinkedIn. But definitely, if you have any questions, I think on Instagram. But any questions at all whatsoever, I love mentorship. You come look me up, ask any question. I will be 100% straight up with you. And also my wife's TikTok is at Noemi, Noemy 1027, and she's running the show for me. She's my secretary. She does all this stuff because I'm awful on freaking electronics. So, but if you hit her up, guarantee that she's going to put me straight and make sure that you get answers.
Mazagan, it's been an amazing time. Hey, thanks so much for your time. First and foremost, thanks so much for your service. You are, in my eyes, and I'm not trying to, but you're a hero, man. And you and I already had a sidebar already that our paths crossed when we were in, and it's just good that you're still out there, spreading the good word, being a leader to Marines. So thanks so much for your time, Master Guns. We'll definitely bring you back.
Appreciate it, bro. Thank you.
Thank you, Master Guns. Thank you. Hey, everybody. It's been an amazing time. Master Guns is an outstanding leader. We'll definitely bring him back. So, hit him up. You can find him up on TikTok. He's got some pretty good stuff out there. Let's thank Noemi for the hard work that she's been putting out. Hey, look, before I punch out of here, everybody, I know we're getting ready to roll into the holidays, but if you've been struggling with rumination, going into a dark hole, you're getting depressed or anything, hit me up at the show. Let's talk a little bit, or hit up a buddy. There's Military One Source, TRICARE. There's all kinds of stuff out there that can get you the right help. So, because at the end of the day, nobody here wants to say something about you at your eulogy. They want to solve the problem with you in person. So, and your job, and if you haven't heard from a buddy, reach out to them and check up on them. All right. So, with that being said, everybody, I think this is a good time to index. So, Ice Tomas, Dice the Key, Ara, get some. I'll talk to you later, everybody. Bye bye.